We are lucky to be hosting a wonderful demo by the amazing Neil Whitehead. And if you're new to Studio 56, you should know that in addition to free online demos and interviews like this one, we also produce online workshops, and we organize vacation workshops for artists, painting holidays, artist retreats. We still have a few tickets available for next year. We're going to be hosting a pastel workshop in Costa Brava, Spain, with Brian Jernigan. We will also have a watercolor workshop in the hilltop villages of Provence in April with the amazing Sebastian Toman. He's an Irish painter, watercolorist. We will be hosting a gouache workshop in the hilltop villages of Umbria, Italy, with Gary Goretz, and we're closing registration this week. So if you're interested in a gouache workshop in Italy, don't hesitate. Now is the time. And we have tickets still available for our Bruges and Ghent workshop that will be taught by Hazel Sohn in September. And you can find out more about our vacation workshops and our online workshops at www.studio56boutique.com. So today we're going to be hosting a demo with Neil Whitehead. And Neil is a fabulous instructor. Let me tell you a little bit about Neil. He's an award-winning urban landscape artist from the UK. He's known for his highly recognizable style that combines rich, expressive lines and fluid colors. And his artwork is inspired by urban architecture and the vibrant towns and cities we inhabit. And his artwork offers a fresh and dynamic interpretation of urban environments. And let's bring Neil into the call. While he's coming, I'll just let you know that he is also the author of this new book that just came out in December, Line and Wash in the Urban Landscape. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's 128 glossy pages with lots of examples of his art and lots of instruction in there too. It's really a lovely, lovely book. Let's bring Neil into the call. Hey, Neil.
Hi.
Good to see you. Hey,
likewise.
Where can people purchase your book?
They can purchase it online pretty much anywhere, predominantly Amazon, which serves most of the world now. You can buy it through amazon.com, .co.uk, obviously because I'm from the UK, or any country that delivers into your country, or you can buy it direct through the publishers, Search Press, or through Penguin Random House on all their websites, and in some stores, but predominantly UK stores.
Cool, excellent, wonderful. And so what are we going to see today?
You're going to see warts and all demo of me going through my style. So I've really kind of toned or beefed up the kind of continuous line sketching, so nice and fast and fluid. I've thrown in lots of color and expression. So I'll talk about composition, what I look for in a scene, how I work fast, how that can benefit your sketches and loosen your sketches. A lot of the people I work with get very tight and constrained, and the sketching becomes a challenge rather than a free-flowing piece of art, with the end goal that you've got a sketchbook that is quite reportage in terms of look and feel, atmosphere, and your own personal experience of a scene. So when I do workshops, I don't want everyone to do the same scene with the same look and feel and the same colors. What do you find? What can you bring to bring your kind of style? So my work and my instruction is all about trying to draw that own style out of you, and I'll give you some pointers along the way all the time.
That's great. Okay, let's start our demo.
Hello, wonderful people of Sketch Boutique. I'm Neil Whitehead. I'm going to take you through an exclusive demo of my style. It's all about expression. It's a little bit abstract. It's urban, but it's full of rhythm and fluid watercolors. My style and my teaching is about loosening up your sketches so you get away from the tight architectural pieces and actually have some expression. So we won't use rulers today. It's a lot about the feel of the scene, and yeah, what sings to you rather than architectural accuracy. What we're going to do is, this is a scene from one of the shoots of my recent book. This is in the beautiful Roman town of Bath in southwest England. I'm going to use one of my intent pages here. Now this scene calls out to me for quite a few reasons, so I'll go through them fairly quickly. But what you'll see is, and if I get a paintbrush, you'll see we've got some really nice angles of perspective. As you see, they're coming down right to this point here. Yeah, it's quite a characteristic of my work, is that I'm offsetting my vanishing point, so it kind of occupies that left-hand third. So our point of action, coming down all these lines here, it's round about here. This is where it's all happening. So our area of action sits off to the left-hand side, and then a horizon line here also occupies a third of the page. So we've got a nice big zone in the middle here where it's all happening. That's where all the action is. So what I would typically do for one of these sketches is work fast, because I want to capture as much as I can with a real kind of fluid style. So there's my scene. I kind of know where my action points are. What I'll do is I tend to start from the left hand side, but I like to leave a nice big chunk of room for sky. A lot of sketches I see sometimes from my students, they'll start the sketch but they're right at the top of the page and there's no room for the sky, and everyone likes a nice expressive sky. So hold on tight, I'll go fast. What I like to do is use, in a sense, a continuous line. So I'm not going to get every detail right, far from it, but you'll get the feel of the sketch start to appear. And then I'll use a lot of negative space when we bring in the colour. And as I go through the colour, you'll see I'm going to probably pick out one or two colours that really resonate with me. We've got a nice blue door here. And we've got this lovely kind of Bath stone, this nice kind of beigey brown. So yeah, we'll get to that. What I'm loving is all these chimney pots. There's so much going on there, but it's so complicated that we're going to simplify it so we can capture any scene. So without further ado, I'm going to start. So I'm looking at that roof line on the left, keeping the pen on the paper as quick as I can. Bit of movement, continuous line. Now windows are great at giving us an idea of scale. Now don't worry, I'm going so fast, but it will make sense. There's a little light fitting there. I'm going to capture that, and then you can see my windows are, in a sense, just squiggles. Capture those top roof windows there. Yeah, I'm not going to worry if I'm making mistakes. I'm not going to do every little pane of glass there as well, because I'm just going to come unstuck, because that's so detailed. If I'm doing that intricate detail, but they're not doing it everywhere else, it can create an imbalance, which I don't like. So we've got more windows here. Again, really loose. I'm just capturing the essence of what's going on there. I've got a love-hate relationship with windows. They're great for scale, and they help us draw the perspective, but they're essentially fairly boring. Now what this scene is great is it's got some posts here, and I really like that kind of offered kind of scale there. And you can see these people also help identify what kind of scale is going on. So I'm just going to give the very essence. Those people just capturing maybe the arms and the kind of look and feel of the legs. The pen staying on the paper,
pretty much exclusively. We're just getting the merest of outlines, and it's going to help our sketch in terms of scale and width. That umbrella there, now I've kind of slightly got that off to one side, but I'm not going to worry. We're working so fast, there will be errors, but it will look like a lovely piece of artwork, I promise. So the lovely bit of chimney work there. We've got this quite bold perspective. Make sure we capture that. Keep an eye on that perspective, angling away from us down to the vanishing point down here. More chimney pots. Again, I'm just going to give the idea of chimney pots. When I've done these sketches before, I've actually timed myself. So if you say you've got 2 minutes, I find that you suddenly capture what resonates with you rather than what everyone's going to draw. Trees there. We've got this main building coming up. What I like is that you've got this gap here, so I'm kind of focusing on drawing this shape as much as I can when going fast. And this really bold, lovely sweeping, nice angle again. I'm keeping an eye on that angle. Move that water. We've got a big window there. Got a sign here. More kind of the impression of windows there, but we can't make them all out perfectly. And we're going fast. Got this lovely door. Got someone kind of loitering around there. Let's capture them as much as we can. So if you were, it's starting to form. It's a really loose, abstract vision of what's going on there. Now these posts I mentioned earlier, these are great. I'm going to just bring these back in. There's a couple more people down the background there, but we're going to put them in that web of lines. It's almost like a spider web, and I give as many clues to the viewer as possible about where that perspective is and what's happening. If I was to rely on just one line, then it's got to be right, because there's no other clues. So it's essentially convenient cheating, but I feel it gives that individual essence that not everyone is going to have the same kind of sketch. Just nice bold lines, quite definite. I'm not being wishy-washy and zigzaggy. I'm not cross-hatching. I'm just going with confidence. And what I'm doing, I'm just going to start bringing up some of the more dominant lines. What's in the foreground? Just going to be a little bit darker. Just adds to hinting at that depth. Obviously, something nearby is going to be that much more clear to view. And we've got the impression of windows down there. I'm just going to give the merest impression, bit of greenery there. And then I'm just looking for shapes here and there, circles, squares. It may not always be in the most exact location, but it just helps bring the sketch to life, and you've got elements that you can kind of resonate with. There's a few benches going on here. It's going to take time to get those perfect, so I'm just going to give the impression of them. And then, yeah, the sketch is kind of forming now. So really don't take too much time, don't be too serious, and you'll start to get a fast and fluid, abstracted urban sketch. Obviously we're not on location this time, but ideally you would have a little crowd watching around you and enjoying the sketch at the same time. That's always fun. And we've got a few these kind of brickwork pieces here just to help with the perspective. I'm just going to help the viewer, and we get that sense of depth, and there's a kind of sneaking bit of tarmac there. And I might just pick out one or two squares just to, again, more visual clues that it's all going that way. So that's a sketch. And then if I'm going to paint this, what I would do is I like to pick out the colours that resonate with me. So I like this kind of beigey colour. Also, I love a nice bold blue sky. So I'm going to take the opportunity to do that. Going to use my filbert brush here. Plenty of water. Now my painting style divides some. I'm not traditional in terms of watercolour, lots of layers and lights and darks. I'm more that line of wash. So I like the big bold wash that you get, and I'm not going to stick to the lines every time. You know, I'm liking this colour so much, I'm going to let it actually mix a little bit with the sky. I'm going to bring a bit of my blue. I've also got here a little bit of phthalo blue, which is a super strong pigment. You just need a tiny dab and that will explode that blue. There we go. Well, there we go. Right, that's really big. So I've got a couple of colours to work with here. I've also got this kind of sharp fin kind of brush, which is great, and I'll use that in a bit after I've done the first few brush strokes. Now what I like to do is almost feed the brush into the paper. I would tilt the page around a little bit, just so we get a few drips, there's a bit of rhythm, but fully loaded. It's got a bit more blue there. And I'm just trying to create a bit of drama, you know? So I'm just mixing that blue with that beige we had. I'm going to get a little bit strong on that blue at the top. And I'm just going to let that tilt a little bit. What I like to do is bring the wash, that feed into, so we've got a little bit of connection with our foreground. Just going to splash a little bit of red, just to complement that kind of beigey tone, nothing too much. And then my very characteristic flick of the brush, so we just get, all of a sudden we get a little bit of life happening. Gives the impression of a bit of movement, maybe birds in the sky, movement of the day. And then with that orangey brown, I'm going to feed this down, give it a bit of a tilt. And yeah, it's painting with no seatbelt, so lots of things are going to happen we can't control. But I like that. As a famous artist used to say, it's the happy accidents. And then a lot of the time it's a bit like colouring in. I'm just going to start bringing out some of these shapes and offer some colour to them. Lots of water. Again, I'm just going to let it come to life. Now, characteristically, a lot of my work has negative space. So a certain element of this, I'm just going to leave white. What I like to do is kind of have a balance. So typically there's a little bit on the left, a little bit on the right. Move that around. Getting a bit excited, it's all twisting around. There we go. Bit heavier on the pigment there. I'm going to darken that a little bit more as it starts to come down. So these chins are quite dark. So a lot of the time I'm kind of accentuating. If there's a bit of shadow or a bit of light, I'm just going to bring out even more. Obviously the watercolours will fade as they dry, so don't hold back, I say. Go bold, because when it dries, you won't be facing something that's a little bit pale and drab. Using that filbert brush with this nice edge, and I'm just going to tilt that a little bit, encourage it down. Because we've got a lot of vertical elements, so the doorways and the windows, I'm going to use the brush vertically. Again, help the viewer to realise that this is a portrait piece. Now we're getting towards the horizon line here. So what I'm going to do is just bring in a little bit of yellow. I want to continue this kind of tone, but I want to give an idea of what's happening in the foreground. And let's follow those contours. A few flicks here and there. Got those people there. So there's a collection of colours. Just swap brush. Go for a little bit more detail. Just start picking out some of the darker shapes here. Again, it's really loaded with water. Now that greenery in the background, just going to try and bring that out, just darken that really slightly. Offering a little bit of suggestive paint there. I'm just whacking some yellow, just to bring that out a little bit more. And it kind of explodes on the page. But I'll just let that dry like that. And then with that yellow, I love the yellow in my work, you can just start to pick out. Ooh, that's a bit excessive, but we can rescue it. Just a little bit of the elements of where the light's coming through. It's a little bit of colouring in. It's all kind of merging in this zone here. Now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just beef up this door. Now this could make or break it, but I'm not going to do the outline of the door. I'm going to use the wash to just denote that part of the sketch was blue. And there's a little bit going back down there as well. Just go around that figure so we get some sort of negative space. put it on this person. So put it colouring in. That offers quite a nice balance there. And then I'm just kind of adding in just a few darks. Nothing too much in the background, because then it will naturally make it more visible and disrupt our scale. What I'm going to do is capture these posts, because they're great. They just pop in front. Now, I'm always painting wet on wet now because it's so wet. Just drawing off just the top layer of water, because what I'll do next is just start going over these lines again. So what we started to do is create a unique piece of artwork, really vibrant. Okay, it's not bang on accurate in terms of colours, but it's all about what we want to achieve. Do we want a photographic representation, or do we want to be inspired by the scene to create an original piece of artwork? I'm certainly in that camp. So what I'll do now, as this is drying, if it's kind of 90% dry, I'm just going to use my pen. Now be careful it doesn't start scrubbing out the nib of your pen. Sometimes it can get a bit clogged. But I'm just going to start accentuating some of these lines. The damp paper just makes the line just that bit darker. And we just bring that line back above the paint. So a bit like using Photoshop when you've got your layers. I'm just lifting that line up, trying to make those chimneys a bit more apparent. We've got all our crazy lines here, all the people and the movement. So I'm just going to bring those out again. Again, they're not obviously people, but you get the idea that, yeah, there's a person there. That door. Just going to start emphasising some of the structure of that door. Again, nothing exact. Again, still keeping it fairly continuous. So there we go. That's how I would approach a quick out and about sketch that has a unique feel. Our blue sky is kind of merged with the orangey brown I used, and then our green for these trees here has just, again, all mixed together, and that, yeah, I'm really happy with that. We've got quite an expressive sky, there's a bit of character, it's not all just one solid block of colour. There's negative space, it balances it out, there's a bit of depth. You've got the idea that there's people moving around, and then we've got this nice big bold blue, and the sense we've got journey down the street. So that would do. That's how I would approach most sketches. Fast and fluid, lots of expression, and yeah, certainly something enjoyable. So I hope you enjoyed that, and see you soon.
There we go. Thank you, Neil.
Hello.
Thank you so much, Neil. Wow, 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 wow. I love the continuous line, and I love how brave you are with just letting those colors flow into each other. It's incredible. So let's see if you have questions, people. You can type them into the Q&A box now, and we will get on to it. Okay, someone is asking what kind of pen and what size nib, because I was amazed to see that pen was you're drawing on wet paper. Wow, what was that?
Yeah, I go through lots of pens. I have a shoebox full of fine liners. That one is sadly from a shop that is no longer with us in the UK. It was from a shop called Paper Chase, but it was quite a basic pen. It was a 50 pence cheap fine liner, so that's why I went through them. when the paper is, or the paint is that bit dry, but it's still a little bit, got a little bit of moisture, you can get away with a bit of pen mark. Yeah, that it does limit the lifespan. Sometimes some pens are better, some they're not always exactly the same. I use that pen. I use a fine liner from Derwent as well. As a brand ambassador, I've used a lot of their kit. So yeah, some of their pens live through the puddles, others don't. So it's again, it's one of those things that you got to keep trying, and I've gone through so many different pens just to experiment.
Yeah, just experiment. That's right. I find that when you're drawing on top of paint, that if it's like a 0.2 nib,
Yeah, that was
it
point
will
two.
look
Yeah.
like a 0.3 or
Yeah.
0.5. Something about that paint on the surface of the paper pulls the ink out of the pen. It'll
Yeah.
draw darker, thicker line.
Yeah, well, what I
Yeah.
find is, so that was a 0.2, which tends to work that kind of size, which is kind of 6 by 4 inches. If I'm doubling up to something that is, I've done workshops where I've had something that is 15, 20 inches wide. So you might go up to like a 0.8 or even a big, thick kind of Posca marker pen.
Wow.
So it kind of
Wow.
scales up.
I don't like drawing with something like a 0.8. It's just too much for me. But cool. So when she is asking what kind of paper, and so is Charlotte.
Yeah, again, so that is part of the kit I have as a Derwent ambassador. It's called Inktense paper. It's lovely paper. I mean, there's so many great ranges. What the piece I love about it, or the way it works, is you might have seen in the sky and the colors there. The colors just group together beautifully, so you don't get these separation lines where other papers you can get. And what I find is, because I use so much water, I want to use something that's really thick. So that's around 300 GSM. And the cotton just soaks paper up, so you very rarely get any rippling, and any ripples that you do get, if you just put a tea towel over the top, lightly iron your artwork, and it will drop those bumps and ripples out.
Okay, good tip. I've never done that. Okay, good to know. Ironing your sketch.
Not on full power. Just a quick iron over the top with a tea towel to protect it.
I don't think I even own an iron. Maybe I have one somewhere. Is this paper super white as well, right? It's not slightly beige. It looks super white.
The Inktense is actually, it's slightly off white, the Inktense. So it's got a little beige into it. Yeah, so it's horse for courses. You can go with what you're comfortable with, really. I find that works really well. It's a nice format. I think that was 9 by 12 inches, that one.
Yeah. Okay. Deborah she wants advice. Deborah says, maybe difficult to answer, but I love your style and set out to do something similar, but I always end up painting most of the scene. How do I stop myself? Help.
Yeah, common question. I think this is a challenge for many if you are out and about. So in traditional urban sketching, you land in a city centre and they go, right, then draw that, and you're like, oh, it's overload. So as I talk about in my book, actually, I have got, just very basically, I've got an old mount from a picture frame, and I'll hold it up, and then I think, right, okay, there's my boundary, and then I can kind of plot that on my sketchbook. So right, that's my window, that's what I'm going to sketch. And then because it's such a nice freeing moment for your mind, think, I'm not going to do everything around there, it's just going to be those elements within that square. So it's a lot of it's common sense, but a lot of the time you've got to simplify it for yourself, because looking at a scene like that can be massively complex.
Yeah, because you're not painting shapes. You're just, I don't know how to describe it. You're just letting paint flow that's influenced by the local color. But it's not necessarily painting in all the little boxes and so on.
No, that's not what I'm trying to achieve. And it's what you enjoy doing. If you enjoy doing that, absolutely, I'm not trying to dissuade you away, but for me, it's about selecting something that resonates with the viewer. Again, more in the book, I talk about the gridding up the page. So the rule of thirds, if you're working to 1 point perspective, which is generally the easiest to kind of get your head around, because perspective can be tough. If you offset that vanishing point, so where all the points are going to, if you just push that off to the center, you suddenly make the sketch that little bit more interesting than being dead center, because then you've kind of constrained yourself that it's all going to work perfectly. And then if you're looking for a nice one perspective scene, then that helps you frame your composition when you're out and about. I think, okay, that's the area I'm going to paint, because any more and it's going to throw the sketch off. And like I say, leave room for the sky. So many workshops to do is the building, the roof's right to the top of the page. I was like, wow, it's just, I'm like, the front door is right in front of me. So I like to have that atmosphere. So you keep that horizon line below the center point of the page.
Okay, so you are, I should know this, but do you always include a huge amount of sky in your sketch?
It varies. I love a good expressive sky. So that's some of the artists
you
I
let
follow.
it slow down.
Yeah, I tend to work portrait, because then I can tip the page, as we saw in the video. You can see the paint drip down, and it helps the viewer understand that this is a portrait piece. Common things that I see that offer conflict is if you're doing say a nice big portrait scene, but you go horizontally with the sky, unless you're hiding all the brush strokes, sometimes that can conflict with, so you've got horizontal and vertical going on at the same time. So for me, I like to give every possible clue to the viewer that it's a tall portrait piece.
Yeah, cool. So so I'm gonna just be bold here and ask people, hey, how would people like to take an online workshop with Neil Whitehead? How many people? Raise your hand, click the raise hand button. And oh, the hands are rising. That's good. All right. Well, we're talking about it, and we'll see what we can do. But thanks for responding, everyone. Yeah, that's good to know. So Alan is asking, have you ever sketched in Strath's or Robin Hood's Bay? I don't know where those places are.
I know of them, but no, I sadly haven't been to those yet. Robin Hood's Bay is beautiful, but no, not sketched there.
And Norma is asking, what size sketchbook do you find works best?
If I'm out and about and I've got half an hour, which is generally my time scale, I will use the 6x4 Moleskine art sketchbooks. They're super quality. I've got about 20 in my studio, just full up of sketches at standing waiting for a bus at the train station to walking through a city centre. For me, that's my go-to sketchbook. If I'm working on bigger scale stuff, it's normally because I'm doing something studio based. But I'd recommend something that's, in the UK, that's an A5, so that's about 6x4 inches.
6x4, no. A5, is that big or small?
A5 is the equivalent, so it's half of an A4, which is about 300 centimeters by 200 centimeters.
Okay. All right. 20. Okay. I'm not familiar. I just thought 6x5. That's like really small. Okay.
Yeah, they vary, but yeah, nothing much bigger than that, really.
Okay. Okay. So Deborah has a couple of things. She says the sketching part I'm okay with. I just can't leave the white space. And then she says, I guess my question is, if you have a tip, how to choose what to leave white and how to stick to it.
Yeah, good question. And sometimes it happens naturally. So it's not always pre-planned. But what I do find in some of the sketches that I'm disappointed in is because there's a lack of white space. My work is all about contrast. So it's nice bold lines, big bold colors, and then that cut off. So you've got then that white space. And I've had an ongoing discussion through my Instagram channel on there about balancing whites. And what I find is I naturally kind of leave a bit of white space on both sides of the sketch, and it helps balance the whole piece rather than having all the white negative space on one side. So hopefully that helps. It's never kind of that pre-planned. It's kind of like it's in the moment, but more about creating that contrast. So if you've got that really nice, say, domed roof but a stunning sky, I might do the stunning sky, and then that's so expressive that if I was to then paint the domed roof as well, it almost takes a little bit away from the impact of the sky. So it's almost like helping frame some of the really super expressive parts of the page.
Cool.
Hopefully that helps.
Yeah. Hi, Mercedes. She just said hi to me. Okay, so that answers Gina's question as well, I think. And let's see, Norma is asking, she says, I noticed that you placed the darkest colors of paint in your focal point where the light was lightest. It was very effective. Do you always do that?
No, not always. No, I think what what happened there really, because if you're talking about the focal point, so where our lines were seeded, there was so much going on that I didn't have space probably to draw it all. So I just gave the impression that something that far away became a little bit mistier and darker, and you couldn't quite make out, but you could see some of the underlying lines that there was activity there. But it's not a rule of thumb. I've done plenty of work where the things that are very much in the foreground are really dominant. So again, it's a bit like the negative space piece, really. It's just that balance. Do I think that a real dark here is going to really set another color off and work with that white?
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the time also it's trial and error. You know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, cool. Alan's saying, did Neil say you used Derwent Lightfast paper?
It's called Ink Tense. So it's a cold press. So it's as intense but ink tense.
Okay, Jim is saying, please tell us more about your book, which I'm happy to hold up one more time. And is it widely available, and why did you make it, and for whom?
It's made, so it was about 2 years in the making. It's made for people that want to loosen their sketches, obviously, and get some inspiration from my work. So it's a series of thoughts. There's a few exercises in there. It's very much about just getting to grips with working outdoors, expression. It's not massively theory based. I mean, I've read lots of books and they're quite hard, and you just want to get out and sketch. So I made sure that this was full of imagery to inspire you, because again, lots of the art books I've read, I've got halfway and thought, right, okay, I'm off now. I've had enough. I'm inspired. The book's done its job. So that's kind of what I've done. You can jump around it. It's in no super structure. There's things you might want to investigate towards the back of the book, and it's something you can fold over the corner of the page, come back, and try new stuff. Just giving you a bit of license to be a bit more freer in your sketching. But there's a few tips, exercises, and just kind of what goes on in my head in paper form.
Cool. It is fantastic, and so people should look for it anywhere quality books are sold. And shameless plug, if you're interested in learning more about, if you're a beginner, you want to learn more about basic perspective, you will find my ebook, A Quick E-Guide to Beginner's Perspective, $9.99 on the Studio 56 boutique website. So thank you so much, Neil. I really appreciate your sharing your wonderful knowledge with us. And it's not easy to do what you do. You make it look so easy, but it's not. To just, to let go and just let it happen, and not, be precious about the paper and worry. That it's a big hurdle for a lot of people, including me. And so I really enjoyed that demo. Thank you so much, Neil.
Thank you.
People, just to let you know, we have one more a free demo coming up in February, and it's called Expressive Sketching. It's a free demo with Tom Peidelhauser. He's a Canadian urban sketcher, and you can get your tickets online at www.studio56boutique.com. Thank you so much, Neil. Thanks everyone for coming. Take good care, and we'll see you sometime soon. Happy sketching. Bye, Neil.
Bye-bye.